stealing money from their bodyguards. And they were purporting to quote the outcome of the meeting where both Junet, Mwenje, Ichungwa, and all of you, Alice, you are. They were even purporting to quote some 3 members of this house as the source of information, even went on to write an editorial to call members every inconceivable name, greedy, and all sorts of things. Far from the truth, because in Chungwa, you know, we were in Naivasha, and there was no discussion of any sort about members. And yours truly here will be the last person to bastardize members of this house, having been here for as many as you can remember. So Junet is right. The speaker is leaving the chair for another urgent meeting. My able deputy will take the chair and allow members to make comments on that important issue. Deputy Speaker, you can take the chair. Majority Leader, you can have a go. Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the sentiments and the concerns as raised by the Honorable Junet Mohammed. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad that this house has actually been turned as a punching bag, and people demonize everything about this house. That where we pass laws that pertain to the common man, Honorable Speaker, and that is exactly what we do, which we actually do very, very well every day, and sometimes sitting up to late into the night, Honorable Speaker, the media and even the members of the clergy do not raise concerns. They do not talk about it. But on the issue that touches on the executive, you hear them say that, we haven't had anybody, speak about it in the National Assembly or in the floor of the House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we implore on the members of the public and even the members of the clergy to be watching proceedings of this House. There is no matter of national importance that hasn't passed through this floor, Honorable Speaker, and that hasn't been spoken to, Honorable Speaker. But it is so sad that even on matters that touch on the public concerns, the issues that are so direct to the public people, like today, Honorable Speaker, we are faced with femicide, Honorable Speaker, where women are being killed and young girls are being killed all over. You have not heard the church speak about it, Honorable Speaker. You've not heard the clergy utter a single word about it, Honorable Speaker. I mean, really. But if it was an issue, Honorable Speaker, that touches on the members of the parliament, this house has even created a platform where we are raising concerns about the femicide. We expect the members of the clergy, Honorable Speaker, who are leaders also, to give us accolades and appreciate us and say, at least this house is doing 1, 2, 3 on matters that are, pertain, matters that are affecting the women of this country, Honorable Speaker. But they are not saying, Honorable Speaker, that. I want to invite the members of the clergy in particular, Honorable Speaker, to the good book that they teach. Because as a good student of the good book, as a person that went through the Sunday school, right from age 3, Honorable Speaker, to date, I have read the good book in the book of Romans chapter 13, that there is no leadership on earth that has not been placed by God. I mean, which God is that you tell us to preach when you can't respect the God that has placed the leadership, Honorable Speaker? That we only matter, Honorable Speaker, sometimes when we go to the church. If you ask any member of the parliament, Honorable Speaker, their booths or their offices are full of cards, Honorable Speaker, invitation cards for fundraising, Honorable Speaker. It is shocking. At one point, Honorable Speaker, I attended one church along Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, somewhere here with the former deputy president, who is now the president. And Honorable Speaker, they denied members or the leadership, the members of parliament to speak. But immediately we finished, they gave us a bill of 6 million, a need of 6 million, Honorable Speaker. Is our importance, very important to the extent of our contributions, Honorable Speaker, honestly. And when such contributions are made, Honorable Speaker, even upon their request, then they go out there to play with the public gallery and say we do not need members, or leadership to contribute, Honorable Speaker. This is sad. And like Honorable Majority Leader said the other day, even the members of the clergy that said they want to return the funds, and Honorable Majority Leader will speak after me, they have not actualized, they have not refunded the funds, Honorable Speaker. To date, they have not said, okay, fine, this is the check that we said, this is the check, take it back, build, because we'll build. We want to confine ourselves, Honorable Speaker. We want to confine ourselves, Honorable Speaker, to the good book again. In the book of Haggai, chapter 1, Honorable Speaker, verse 7. That we go up to the mountain and pick the trees so that you can build the church of God. You will not gag me from contributing in building the house of God because you don't like my political views, Honorable Speaker. I mean, this thing of making politicians demonized. We are demonized, Honorable Speaker, in the banks. When you go to open a bank account, you are referred as a PEP, politically exposed person, that you've got to declare that. If you're doing somewhere in business, they say, you know, you're a politician, you'll need to declare interest. When you go for if you lose your seat and you go for an interview, then you're told, you know, you're a politically exposed person, you need to be. In any case, Honorable Speaker, we should actually be applauded. A person leading a county or a constituency with 100,000 voters, Honorable Speaker, that is an experienced manager that needs to be a manager and a CEO of Equity Bank, Honorable Speaker, which only has got an employee portfolio of 2,000 people, Honorable Speaker, or 3,000. But what happens? You lose your seat, or you are out of politics, or you appear like you've been politically inclined to some place which is again within the law under Article 37, the rights of association. You are demonized, you are insulted, you go out there, people believe that you are taking their money. What is with this obsession of a person thinking that somebody is poor because somebody else is rich? Why can't you just respect other people's rights like you want the others to respect you, Honorable Speaker? What we are saying, Honorable Speaker, that we must learn to embrace divergent views. You have your view as a member of the clergy. I have my view. You have your view as a person from the media or the media for the state. I have my view. The divergence of views is not wrong, and that makes it democracy. We all can't think the same way. Stop demonizing members of parliament and particularly members of the National Assembly. And when you have a challenge, you want to rush to us. Anytime you have a challenge, members of parliament. When I pass through the streets, mheshimiwa, mheshimiwa. When I go everywhere, mheshimiwa. When I go to mheshimiwa. But when I come, when people go there somewhere in the media, Honorable Speaker, they insult us, Honorable Speaker. So please.
Let's give other members a chance.
Yeah, as I conclude, I want to conclude, Honorable Speaker, and say people should respect this House, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Let me give okay. I'll come to you.
Mike. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first thank the Honorable Junet for raising this issue. Because, Honorable Speaker, at times we are afraid to speak for ourselves because we'll be seen to be fighting the church or religious leaders. And let me thank Honorable Junet because the issue he has raised is not an issue where he is raising an issue that is fighting anybody, but rather fighting for ourselves as members of parliament. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the member for Kericho, who is conversing in Kalenjin in the house. The book of Hebrews, Honorable Speaker, 13:16 says, but to do good and to communicate, forget not. For with such sacrifices God is pleased. Obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief. For that is unprofitable for you. That is the word of the Lord. And that word, Honorable Speaker, is the word I would like to remind our religious leaders, including my own moderator of the Presbyterian Church, the Reverend Thegu, whom I saw last night on TV admonishing this house, that this house is captured, that when the executive wants us to pass bills, we pass them with lightning speed. Of course we pass them with lightning speed because that is what the people elected us to do. And we do that because we are actualizing the manifesto of what we sold to the people of Kenya, because we want to remain true to the people and to God. Therefore, because you are my moderator, you cannot admonish me simply because you hail from Nyeri and you think the impeachment process moved with speed. That speed is what is expected of us under the Constitution. The Constitution gives us timelines as to when and how you prosecute an impeachment process. And let me say, Honorable Speaker, because the Honorable Junetta has done good to raise this issue, we must not be afraid to tell our religious leaders that even when we do good, as the book of Hebrews tells us, when we give in church, we do not give in church to please the bishop, the moderator, the reverend, not even the church members, the congregations in our churches. We do it because the good book in the Bible tells us, do good and communicate because it is pleasing to God. I never go to church to please my bishop. I never go to church to please my moderator. I neither go to church to satisfy the whims of my reverend. I go to church and do what I do because it is pleasing to my God, and we shall continue to do it. And if our religious class imagines they can intimidate us, I have never walked into a church, Honorable Speaker, and asked a single religious leader to give me an opportunity to speak to church. I am glad I patronize a church that's not one of the mainstream churches in Nairobi, together with a member for Kiminini, the Honorable Kakai Bisau. And we go there and we sit in church, we listen to the sermon, and we leave. We never seek anybody to give us an opportunity to address the congregation. When they are fundraising in church, I have never seen a single politician invite himself to a fundraising in church. But the church leaders must not make it look like we invite ourselves to churches to contribute money. We have many other places we can take this money. Honorable Speaker, it is true what the majority whip is saying. I accompanied the president to Soweto, the Catholic Church in Soweto, in Embakasi East. When we sat to have a cup of tea with the church leadership of that church. They are the ones who sought the president's help and our help, together with that of the governor for Nairobi, to build a house for the father. They also sought help with the road. That road to Soweto has already been advertised in the papers for its rehabilitation. When I saw the Archbishop of the Catholic Church, with all due respect to the Archbishop of the Catholic Church, write a letter that they will return some money to the president, I can confirm to the country and to this house, not a shilling, not a cent has been returned to the president. And when it is returned, there are hundreds of churches who have sent me messages and are sending the president messages. They are waiting for the money to be returned. They are willing to receive the money to do the work of God because it is pleasing to God, not to man, not to the bishop, not to the archbishop. Honorable Speaker, respect is earned, and it is two-way. We respect our church leaders, and they must earn that respect. If you speak at me, I'll speak back at you. If you respect me, I will respect you back. Honorable Speaker, I had my own moderator of the Presbyterian Church yesterday say things that I would not expect a church leader to say and speak of leaders. Because, again, if you read the book of Romans, it calls Romans 13, I think verse 1 to 4. It calls on everybody to obey authority because there is no authority that is not ordained by God himself. God is not the religious leaders. God anoints religious leaders to serve his people. God anoints political leaders and other secular leaders to lead his people. And we all serve the same people. Therefore, I know we all come from backgrounds. And I know some of these religious leaders have issues because of where they come from. But they must divorce their personal feelings from their church work. At times there are things I also want to say because based on where I come from. But I remember I am a leader in this country, a national leader. There are certain things I cannot say or do as a leader. I want to call for that wisdom from our religious leaders. I want to call for them to respect authority as commanded in the Bible. I want them to help this country. Some of the issues that I see them pointing fingers to government on are issues of morality, are issues that they should be dealing with in society. Be it femicide, be it the growing trend of LGBTQs and everything, Honorable Speaker. Be it issues touching on corruption.
Actually, it's headed by a bishop. Yes, this is headed by a bishop.
I hear members saying even the anti-corruption, ethics and anti-corruption commission is headed by a bishop. Yes. And a good bishop for that matter, and we wish him well. But all these societal challenges are challenges of society that we must address them together as leaders. Both the political leadership and church leadership, or religious leaders, not just church, even our Muslim leaders. And I want to ask our leadership to work together. We cannot deal with the issues that we have seen, the challenges we have seen with femicide, challenges with our children, without working together. Honorable Speaker, our schools, if there is some moral decadence, it begins from our schools. Many of our schools are sponsored by churches. And even public schools, we have made effort in numerous public schools to be under the sponsorship of churches under the chaplaincy of churches. But that is where the rains are starting to beat us. The only reason you see men doing the kind of bad things they are doing to young girls is because there is something we lost in our moral upbringing. Not just as men, but as a society. But that is the work of the church. Where is the church? I do not see the church in those issues. The church now is more in politics than anything else. And we welcome them to politics. Indeed, this house that they are admonishing has elected bishops and reverends and others nominated, like Bishop Kosgei. Canon Naomi of the Anglican Church is a deputy whip who whips members to come and vote for bills because that is what they are elected to do. Therefore, let me just thank Honorable Junet, Honorable Speaker, but with tremendous respect, ask our church leaders. When you point a finger at a leader, look at the four that are pointing at yourself. When you admonish corruption, don't just talk about the fight against corruption, practice it. It cannot be that my money when I was a business person, and I am still a business person, was not corrupt money, but when I'm elected as a member of parliament, now I am told this is corrupt money. It can't be. You know, it is so interesting, Honorable Speaker, that they are now even choosing which political leader to speak, which one you can receive money from, which one you like, which one you don't like, which political party you like, which political party you don't like. Honorable Speaker, let me just call for mutual respect. Because I am a Christian, a practicing one, and living as one, I will live by the Bible and according to the Bible. I can read the Bible, I can interpret the Bible, I know what the Bible tells me about giving, I know what the Bible tells me about respect for church leaders. I will respect them, but I also expect them to respect those in authority back. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, let me thank the Honorable Junet for having raised that matter.
Honorable members, I can see that there's a lot of interest, so let's agree that we 3 minutes each. Yeah. Yes, I'll get to you. You'll get a chance. The Honorable Kenyan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have a country. The sovereign Republic of Kenya was born out of the sheer hard work of the great men and women who fought the colonialists. And out of their struggle, they have given us a constitution that we have amended over the years. The latest being the August 2010 constitution, which is one of the most progressive constitutions in Africa. Madam Speaker, we are also lucky as a country that we do not go through militarism. And I think because we are spoiled, because we have not seen the effects of military dictatorship that has engulfed other parts of Africa. Madam Speaker, the framers of the current constitution were not fools when they equated sovereignty, you are a seasoned lawyer, to representation. I want each one of us now to expand our horizon of thinking. Why did the framers of the current constitution equate representation to sovereignty? The reason is this. God has ordained leadership, and Madam Speaker, and the fathers of democracy. And you remember those old days in Greece where people used to gather together a whole year, agree. Representative democracy, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, is one of the most sought after governance platform in the world, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the presidency has been criminalized. Offensive statements, malicious statements, capricious statements has been used against the president. Madam Speaker, again, let us also remember we have a head of state who doubles also as the head of government. And Madam Speaker, in our own definition, again, within the constitutional architecture, the head of state, the head of government is one with three branches. Many people have interpreted this to mean that there are three different, conflicting, competing departments. No, we only have one head of state, and that is the person with the instrument of power to govern the sovereign Republic of Kenya, and that's the president. Let's respect the president. Let's respect the leadership. Madam Speaker, I want to ask my colleagues here, the reason why we are being pushed, I think somehow we have also failed. We need to put our foot down. That newspaper, Madam Speaker, that characterized members in a very negative light for a budget that does not even exist should have been sanctioned by the leadership, Madam Speaker. We have failed. The Speaker should have sanctioned that newspaper either to elaborate or apologize. We have not done it. So we have allowed them to go away with a mistake. To the best of my recollection and what I have gathered, there is no budget for members. That budget that has been alluded to is not even in the current budget. How will you pay for, how do you get paid for something that is not budgeted for? So that was malicious. Madam Speaker, equally also, civility is not a sign of cowardice. The fact that we have restrained ourselves, we want to also add, let us demand for respect. Let us also ask our colleagues on the other side, whether you are in the church, whether you are a trade activist, whether you are in the village, respect is two-way. These members have been elected by the people, graciously, and they fought hard. And therefore, if you don't respect them, luckily, our election cycle is time-bound. It is 5 years. If you think you are the most qualified woman, the most qualified sheikh, the most qualified bishop, wait for 2027, present yourself to the electorate, get elected, come and do what you think is right.
Thank you. Thank you. The Honorable, we agreed 3 minutes so that every member can get a chance.
But finally, let me also say, this issue of mob justice, you go to a church because you think you cannot be held accountable. You condemn everybody. We are caught in disaster, Madam Speaker. I want to appeal to the leadership of the churches and the mosques and the trade unionists and everybody else. It is incumbent upon us to respect ourselves, to respect the leadership, and also to respect those whom you have elected. When time comes, use the power of the ballot to vote them out. Don't abuse them. God does not allow that. And there's nothing Islamic, there's nothing, Madam Speaker, revealing about that. Let's respect the leadership and please so we can have a flourishing, vibrant, functioning democracy that everybody will be proud of. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Dagoretti South. 3 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I must truly thank the Honorable Junet for bringing this matter to the floor of the House. The truth of the matter is that this country is treading dangerously. The moment you have an affront on institutions, it does not matter whether that institution is the presidency or parliament or the clergy, any civilization or any democracy needs institutions intact. Madam Speaker, we have a great example in a country called Sudan. Sudan went down the route that we want to go now. They broke down their institutions. Today, those who are clamoring for the fall of the presidency, clamoring for the fall of a government, today are crying, wishing that they would be having a government or a president. Madam Speaker, it is the good book in the book of Daniel that tells me that he changes the times and the seasons. He lifts up kings and he removes kings. He gives wisdom to those who are wise and knowledge to those who are discerning. Madam Speaker, this good book that I read is the one that tells me that leaders are to be respected. And we are not calling upon someone to respect Clergy or to respect President Ruto. You might have your differences with President Ruto, but you cannot sacrilege the institution of presidency. The institute of parliament is sacrilegious, Madam Speaker, to have an affront like the one we are seeing from the leaders of the clergy. But most importantly, Madam Speaker, those who claim to be calling out evil, to be calling out injustice, to be calling out immorality, need to check themselves first, Madam Speaker. Because it is the good book again, in the book of Matthew, that tells me, why do you look at the log in your neighbor's eye? Why do you look at the speck in your neighbor's eye while you have a log in your own? What is happening in these institutions called religious institutions? There is nothing that they are calling out other people on that they are not doing, Madam Speaker. There is immorality in our churches. There is theft and thievery in our churches. There is a lot of evil things that are happening there. So, Madam Speaker, the point here is, let the politics be done by politicians and let the clergies be true to the call that they are called to. And it is very clear in the Bible, the place of the religious leader and the place of the political leader. Because we have not traded places. We are not in the altars of churches preaching. In the same way, a preacher cannot be on the platform of politics, politicking. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, the Honorable Member for Honorable Milio